Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hold Up, the show where we dive deep inside your childhood nostalgia, pull the movies from your past out to see if they truly hold up. We're on to part 2 of our look into the insect world, and I'm joined and holed up with 2 of my favorite insects, Andrew and Kyle, on the Insert Your Advertisement Here hotline. How are you guys?
OMG, how are you, Chase? It's so good to be with you. Kyle, what kind of insect are you? I'll let you go first.
What kind of insect?
Yes, Chase called us an insect, so we have to choose our insect, even though I know you're in a tunnel or something. You got to pick.
Well, of the insect world, I would have to probably say today, I'm a cockroach. Just filthy, running around in slime and muck and just causing issues, very hard to kill, but nonetheless resilient. And
But yeah, also still easy to kill at the same time. It's just a big
it's still
smish.
easy to kill. Just but you gotta like flatten me totally out. You know, you gotta like really step and like really put a lot of hate behind it.
Like the heel of the shoe first kind of step. Yeah,
heel of the shoe first. Yeah, definitely.
Andrew, what kind of insect are you?
I am a beautiful, perfect, extraordinary butterfly. I represent the purity and beauty that is scarce on this evil planet that we live on. But that's me.
And your life expectancy is only 24 hours?
Something like that, so make the most of it. What do you want to say, Kyle?
Shut up. I said I want to go ahead and adjust that. I think that you are a moth.
Nope. You don't get to pick. This is
but that's more so what Chase and I'll speak for Chase.
That is your opinion. That is your opinion, and your perception is invalid. I am what I am, and you'll have to live with that. So, moving on.
You know what I think we all are? I think we're all ants in this situation. Because we watched A Bug's Life.
Not ants with the Z.
No Z this week.
We're A-N-T-S.
This is an ant life, is what we're talking about today. And if everybody remembers, last week we watched Ants, and now we've got to do the follow-up. We've got to figure out which one's better, A Bug's Life or Ants. But before we dive into that huge debate, Kyle, I want you to describe your energy level today using insect terms.
Oh man, I feel I'm a proboscis today. So proboscis is a part of the Animalia. I think I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, you are.
But whatever insect that uses a proboscis is using like a sheathed insertion of like a knife or a serrated blade like a mosquito does to suck the life out of something. That's what I am today. I'm a proboscis.
Okay, so you're doing great. It sounds like you're doing amazing.
I'm snapping necks, cashing checks, baby. Let's go.
So you're like an insect vampire, is what you're saying.
Well, isn't that what a mosquito is?
Yeah,
is it not just a mosquito? Is not just an insect vampire?
Are you kind of like the Van Helsing of the mosquito world? Would you consider that? Or would you actually say that you're the Dracula? Would you go the opposite way? How would you
Van Helsing's a devout Catholic. I don't think Kyle is categorized as that.
That's correct.
But in the mosquito world, he's Pentecostal.
Yes. I only eat fish.
Facts.
Does that make someone Pentecostal?
I guess.
No, that makes them pescatarian, but I think I'd like to lump the two together because they sound alike. So
that was the joke, and it just did not land. Perfect. Well, let's get back to the debate, guys. We did Ants last week, had a decent time with it. You can go back and listen to our episode on Ants where we talk about A Bug's Life and Ants. It was a race to theaters. We talked about it last week. We talked about Ants possibly being a movie that was stolen from Pixar by DreamWorks. Again, there's more information in that episode. We don't want to rehash anything today, so just go back and listen to that if you have not already, and it'll give you a little insight into this race. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about A Bug's Life, and we're going to decide which one of these actually holds up and which one is better. Which one won the overall war?
Yeah, I can't wait.
It's great, right? Like, I think this is our first face-off in the history of the show. So if we had a budget, I'd put like some sound effects in there, but we don't. I don't have that kind of time or editing skills. But Andrew, we're going to start with you. What do you remember about A Bug's Life?
Honestly, what stood out to me, and even to this day, is the music. Like I can hum that main theme at any given time. I'm pretty sure it was Randy Newman. The music is
Andrew, can you just hum it now, please?
bum 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 bum. There you go. There's little snippets.
And also to add to that, yeah, it was Randy Newman, which was every Pixar movie. It was Randy Newman's soundtrack.
But Randy Newman, like, I don't think he can do a lot of wrong personally. I love Randy Newman from his movie scores to his actual like pop music. Like Randy Newman is a legend.
You know what my favorite Randy Newman segment in any show or movie is?
Yeah, tell me.
Anytime that Will Sasso mocked him on Mad TV back in the day.
Really? I thought you were going to say your favorite snippet from him was in Schindler's List.
Yeah, same.
Did he do the soundtrack to Schindler's List?
He did. He did do the. He did do it.
We still need to cover that one day on the show because I think that's gonna,
yeah.
I think that's a great comedy for everyone.
For sure. But back to A Bug's Life. I don't remember like there being like little action figures in whatnot, but I just remember being fascinated by it as a kid. The determination of the choice between A Bug's Life and Ants, but I remember liking A Bug's Life a lot more when I was younger.
So when you were a kid, A Bug's Life was the pure winner.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. Probably wasn't really that close, just because I think I said in our episode last week that Ants missed me a bit when I first watched it. So, yeah, I remember also being terrified of Hopper and the grasshoppers like that. It didn't scare me, but like when this came out, I was like barely 6, so I was young. A lot for a youngster. But beyond that, I don't know. I remember liking it. I remember watching it. I remember having it on VHS, watching it out of movies. It was never one that like I turned my head at or had no interest in putting on the tube. It was always a solid film to watch. So
yeah, this is early Pixar. And this also
Correct.
was the first movie that had one of those shorts before the film actually started. This is kind of started it all with the old man and the chessboard.
Oh, yeah, they didn't have that when I went to watch it on Disney Plus the other night. But
Nope.
I
Fuck you,
totally
Disney
forgot
Plus.
about that. Yeah, fuck you. Come on, you're depriving us of little gems as the such. So, fuck you.
Because the only people watching A Bug's
Say.
Life are the millennials anyway.
Yeah. No one cares about some Pixar movie. Well, I shouldn't say no one. I would say that Toy Story has entered this generation's realm now just because of how many fucking movies they've made. But yeah, I feel like Bug's Life, you know, a 15-year-old's not going to turn that on. There's no call for that. So
yeah, and usually we're at that age now where people are showing their children A Bug's Life and some of those older Pixar movies, and this is the second Pixar movie it kicked off an entire animation genre almost. Like it's
for sure.
This movie is a part of legacy. It may not be looked at as the same way as something like Toy Story or the other Pixar classics, but it is
Finding Nemo.
Yeah, it's very heralded. And this came out like what, 5 years before Finding Nemo or something like that?
Yeah, because wasn't Finding Nemo like 2002 or something like that?
Yeah.
04, 2003. 2003.
Yeah.
This came out in 98.
That had to have been grade school when Finding Nemo came out.
It was 2003. So whatever grade you were in. Yeah.
So it is a 23-year-old movie. Cool.
Right. And then this one was 5 years before that because we were
correct.
We were fully into our like early childhood when this came out. You know, I remember both these movies, Ants and A Bug's Life. The main thing I remember was liking A Bug's Life a lot more because I talked about it last week, and I think it carries over as the whimsicalness of A Bug's Life was a little bit more, and it kind of carried me through. And I also remember the PlayStation 1 game. Kyle, do you remember that?
Oh, shit. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I do remember that. And there was a Game Boy Advance game, or a Game Boy Color game, I'm pretty sure, too.
I was never, we didn't have a gaming console until I was like in 7th or 8th grade. So I had, the first thing I had was a PS2.
Okay.
So I don't remember. I remember there was like a Game Boy game for it that my brother might have had.
Yes,
but
that's what
like
I had.
I don't remember the actual. I didn't know there was a PlayStation game.
Yeah, it was hard as shit from what I remember, or at least maybe because I was 6 or 7 playing it. I remember renting it from like Blockbuster and playing it one weekend. I didn't have it, but I had a PlayStation 1 just because of perks of having an older brother. I had a PlayStation 1 through him. But I do remember playing this game, and it brought up like all the Disney classic games that I used to play, like the Hercules game. And there was A Bug's Life. Toy Story had a game, like the Rugrats had a game. I don't know, Andrew, is this sparking any memory for you?
Oh yeah. I had the Game Boy Color game. It was a black cartridge. I remember the game guide cover vividly. I think I might have sold that game for like $3 or $4 like 4 years ago or so, just because I was never going to touch it again. And I wanted to get something back on a slew of old games I hadn't touched. But yeah, I remember it. It wasn't an easy game from what I remember playing.
It was one of those 3D platformers that like you had no
yes.
clue where to jump or go to.
Yeah, it was one that I probably put on and gave up way too soon because it just wasn't. It wasn't easy, you know. Kids games back in the day were a lot more. Kids video games, I should say, were a lot more challenging than they are this day and age. So, yeah, it wasn't one that registered in terms of depth, but I definitely played it. It was definitely a thing.
One of these days soon, we're gonna extend Hold Up into the video game world, and we're gonna tackle some of these games that we played when we were kids. I promise you, everyone. Someday
we'll do it.
Someday, if you send us money, we can make that happen a lot sooner. If you're out there and you want to just
sponsors, Blue Chew. I think we've moved off you, but Kirkland's and TaylorMade. Hey,
didn't we mention Hims too?
I think we had started to, but
it seems a little too out of our reach right now.
Little too out of our reach. But Kirkland, Signature, and TaylorMade. Hey, we're talking at you. We're ready to go to bat and market for you and advertise for you, willing and ready. So just hit us up.
I'm going to go out there and just say there really isn't a better pairing than our podcast and Kirkland Signature products. When it comes to representing the finest of quality and pure American ideals, the Hold Up podcast and Kirkland Signature is a match made in heaven. I'll leave it there.
I couldn't even say it better myself. And
yeah, I know. That's why I said it, Chase.
Yeah. And Kyle has a kitchen full of Kirkland series appliances.
I definitely do. If Kirkland made a car, goddammit, I'd drive it.
I know Erica been buying Kirkland since the day she was born.
She was born in a Kirkland product.
That woman has stock in Kirkland. But Kyle, moving on to you, what do you remember about A Bug's Life? You don't really have to compare it to Ants, but came out around the same time. So if you want to,
well, I think we're gonna get there at the end. Like we're gonna have the debate that we need to have about Ants versus Bug's Life. However, I will say that to keep it succinct, my overwhelming memory is being a very fortunate child to be able to go to Disney when I was a child and go to Animal Kingdom and go to the Bug's Life, the ride. And I was like, that was so cool. That was the coolest thing. Cause it had like, the air that blew onto your legs and stuff when like and like, it was so creepy. It just creeped you. I don't know. It's creepy.
What year was that?
Because that was like 2001.
Andrew is our Disney guy, so Andrew can tell us. I do not remember, but I do remember that's when it was. Like that's what the.
So I was at Animal Kingdom around that time, but I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember much from Animal Kingdom. That was one of my first Disney trips as a kid that I could remember. I was 3 when my parents took me, and I was basically a log, couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
But that is. I'm glad you brought that up because I do remember Animal Kingdom having like a Bug's Life overlay in half the park. Andrew, do you want to speak on that since you are our Disney nerd?
The ride was It's Tough to Be a Bug, and it opened in spring of '98. It was months before. I'm looking this up in front of me, but it was months before Bug's Life premiered in theaters, which is interesting. But it was right under the big Tree of Life in Animal Kingdom, It was a huge attraction. It was at one of the biggest rides, if not like the biggest ride in Animal Kingdom for quite some time, I imagine.
You know,
Yeah,
that's an interesting thing that you bring up, because back in those days too, like the theme parks would advertise for upcoming attractions and movies a lot, and it worked. I mean, because we haven't gotten to the numbers yet, but I imagine it worked. When you have a full theme park, you can just kill two birds with one stone. Animal Kingdom was pretty new at the time, so you can fill it up and fill space with this attraction of this upcoming Pixar movie and advertise for it. So people are going to your park, riding this new ride, and going and watching your movie. So you're making double money.
Yeah.
I miss those days.
I do too. Now I feel like all of the rides come out like after the movie has been released or
there are
the
a lot
attraction
of
has settled.
Yeah, it's nostalgia rides right now. It's like everything is
like Frozen. That ride came well after the movies were released. It replaced the Maelstrom in Epcot, which was one of the great OG rides, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of the new Frozen ride, but that was years after the original was released. So,
and then they did Guardians of the Galaxy recently, years, and then they did what was it, The Princess and the Frog, when they remapped Splash Mountain,
which awful makeover there, but
they can't get that one open.
It was just so bland. Not to get on a diatribe about a random ride in Disney World, but the original Splash Mountain, nothing will beat that. That's all I'll say. So,
well, let's talk about beating numbers here.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, tell us, how did Bugs Life do? And I don't know, do you have the ants numbers up next to it so we can compare and contrast, or can you pull those up?
Oh, of course I do.
I could always count on you.
I was going to ask if you think I'm stupid, but I know the answer to that.
Kyle
question,
does. Kyle definitely thinks you're stupid.
If Andrew's stupid or not?
Yes. Do you think he is?
It's a rhetorical question.
Well,
let's ask him.
He's very smart when it comes to nothing.
Yeah.
So I think yes, if you count nothing as I think so. We can give him a check mark there.
I told you we knew the answer to that.
I'm surprised you can speak, honestly.
Real quick, Kyle, do you think Andrew could survive storming the beaches of Normandy in Saving Private Ryan?
You know, I think he would help other people survive on the beaches of Normandy. I think he would definitely be...
With them using his body as a shield?
Yes, as like a shield, yes. Exactly what I was going to say. Like,
let's be honest, like more than half of our generation wouldn't have been able to survive.
No, we would all be dead. Everybody on this call would be dead.
I've got a bad knee and a bad back. I'm not going to be able to get through anything.
Oh, don't worry, Chase. They would have made you climb the walls.
Yeah.
You're fine. That back, you're good.
They would have thrown me on the beach and be like, "You're going to be one of the bodies that pile up, so we can make some artificial sandbags on the beach."
Listen, son, your goal is to die immediately, so we can use you as a shield.
Good.
There you go.
Great for democracy. And that's our Saving Private Ryan reference. So we did Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan this week, so I love it. But Andrew, back to you. Sorry, numbers.
So, do y'all remember what the budget for Ants was?
It was massive.
It was a lot. It was like 137 million.
105 million.
Okay, that wasn't far off.
No, Bugs Life's even more. Add 15 more million to that. 120 million.
Okay.
But released on November 20th, and as we recalled in our previous episodes, Ants was released almost 2 months prior to that, on October 2nd. Domestic opening for the week was like 300,000 or something like that, which isn't crazy, but gross domestic was 163 million, we'll say. Internationally, it was over 200 million. So that gets us to a nice worldwide gross of 363 million and some change. So they raped it in with this one. Beat the shit out of Ants. Ants only grossed worldwide 171 million. So they tripled that shit almost.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Very impressive opening.
So if we're just going off of the numbers, Bugs Life beat the absolute piss out of Ants.
They beat the fuck out of Ants. Yeah.
Yes,
Ants.
Okay.
Ants.
All right.
We gotta say it correctly.
But I will say this too: both movies were successful. Both movies made money.
Yeah.
Ants and Bugs Life coming out around the same time. Movies about insects, movies about ants, really, but they're both about ants, and they made that much money collectively. What was it, Andrew? Collectively, almost 500 million.
363 and some change plus 171 million.
Yeah,
so well over 500.
Yeah, so that's pretty good for two animated
Yeah.
insect movies coming
Sure
out
is.
a month apart. Well, I think it's time. I think we've glossed over it, but now it's time to really get down into the weeds and figure out which one of these is actually better as an adult. We know A Bug's Life is on Disney Plus, so you can watch that at any point. Where did we watch Ants? Was it just something we had to rent?
I rented it through my YouTube TV.
That could come back to be a negative towards them. So I want to go through every category. We are in this fight. We are going to judge harshly and critically.
Also, hey, I don't know if we discussed this before, but it needs to be put out there. We discussed Woody Allen and his role in Ants, forlorn character.
I was going to get there, but yeah, let's go ahead and do it, Andrew.
Let's get into it.
Because we talked about the elephant in the room last week, and we talked about Woody Allen's troubled past, and I forgot all about this until we get a little bit of the way in the movie, and who shows up but Kevin Spacey. So
this is Kevin Spacey's heyday. Like, he had just won the Oscar for not A Beautiful Mind. What was American Beauty? Yeah, he'd been in Usual Suspects. Like, he was one of the better, if not one of the best actors in the world at that point.
Yeah, but you could almost say that about Woody Allen at the time too, because Woody Allen had his
for sure.
Yeah, so they were both megastars without, and we knew nothing. I think Woody Allen's troublesome past was starting to come up at the time, where Kevin Spacey's is much later.
Had nothing to do with
Kevin Spacey's is within the past 8 years or so.
Yeah.
I mean, he was doing stuff before that, obviously,
For
but
sure.
the stuff that came up was the last 8 years, and it's just been.
So
he's just tap dancing on a stage. Where was he at, Andrew? Where he was tap dancing?
He was tap dancing on a stage in Tel Aviv, Israel.
In Tel Aviv, Israel, amazing. Love that.
And I read further. He lives in Cyprus, Greece now, and is a fixture at some nightclub there. Like, that's his job.
Love it.
Yeah,
Greeks, man. The Greeks love Kevin Spacey. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So when it comes to controversial figures, both of these are swinging for the fences on this one. So they both get a negative point for that.
Yeah,
but,
that's true. I think we have to be fair. If we're all going to agree on that, then we need to issue a negative point whenever that happens.
Yes.
For egregious things, for proven, egregious, went to court kind of things that, yes, we must do that. So okay, we're all in agreement. Negative point.
And I was going to say, too, if A Bug's Life didn't have Kevin Spacey, then you're like, oh, man, I already like A Bug's Life a lot more because I don't have to listen to Woody Allen. And now you're listening to Kevin Spacey, so it's almost equaled out.
Yeah, it is. They have equaled out. Neither of them can score above a 9.
Exactly, or an 8. Let's put it at an 8.
Oh yeah, that's never destined for that to begin with. But hey,
you don't know that.
I do, but let's not predict the future until we get there.
Andrew, tell me something that's not a prediction. Tell me where this movie starts off and where it takes place.
It's pretty sure it's right outside the anthill, isn't it? And aren't they marching and collecting grains and nuts and berries for the offering? Correct? Isn't that where it begins? I don't really remember.
Yeah, I mean, it starts pretty quickly. We're introduced to a bunch of ants outside of a hill. Let's go ahead and talk about it up front, so we don't have to just keep rehashing on it or bringing it up. But I think the animation's really well done here.
Yeah,
it's a similar style to Ants. It has that kind of digital style of animation. But Andrew, you talked about this last week. How do the ants look compared to the ants in Ants?
So the ones in Ants, they looked like they were wooden, and every ant looked a little bit different, but they were the kind of same color, an off brown, if you will.
And they had human faces,
They
made them very creepy.
And I don't know. It looked weird. To me, it looked weird. It looked like they had hard bodies, which is not what you think of when it comes to being an ant. Bug's Life, a little bit different. The females were like a light purple and the males were a light blue. And they had variances. Some ants were shorter and squatter. Some were a little more rotund. Some were skinnier and whatnot. So like, it wasn't like every single ant looked the same. They had different complexities in their face, but they still had a more uniform look, and they didn't look like they were hard. They looked a little squishy, if you will. Light blue and light purple, I don't know, it was more aesthetically pleasing. I much preferred.
Which under the, like, Kyle can help with this, because once you get under a microscope, though, an ant is a very hard-shelled insect.
I was going to say, if they have fucking exoskeletons, they're supposed to be very crunchy.
They're squishy to us because we just tower over them, but they have exoskeletons, and they are very strong.
Well, I would say, I'm sure there's some biologists who are going to correct me, but I'm pretty sure all insects have an exoskeleton. I'm just saying.
Andrew, to your point, they look way more appealing and less horrific in A Bug's Life. So point to Bug's Life on that. But yeah, they're getting ready to harvest all this grain. It's the end of summer going into fall or winter, right? Like, it's like the leaves are about to fall.
They're waiting for you keep on hearing about when the last leaf falls. When the last leaf falls, that's their timetable that they have. So they're trying to collect as much grain as they can. We don't know why yet necessarily, but we find out pretty quickly that they're gathering all this grain for the grasshoppers. They live to serve the grasshoppers, and they have just enough food to feed themselves. So the grasshoppers are like evil overlords. Like, they're like Kim Jong-un. They just come in and they're like, this is mine, and you, whatever is left over, you will get. So we find out that bit of exposition immediately, but then we also see our title character,
Flick,
our boy Flick. And what's he doing though, Chase?
So he's not an inventor. They introduced him as an inventor at the beginning, but he's more of like an innovator. He's trying to make the grain harvesting process faster. So their goal, they're on this strict timetable, and you meet the queen character, I forgot her name, and the princess, and all the worker ants, and they're calculating everything, and they're trying to be very precise because time is of the essence. What they got to do is you find out from the queen and the princess that they're trying to put as much grain in this offering as possible for the grasshoppers, and then once the grasshoppers leave, they have to go get their grain for the winter. So they're on a huge time crunch, and Flick is trying to make everything faster. So he's created this entire elaborate, like, leaf-like invention that he goes and chops all the grain down, and it seems to work. When I first saw it, I was like, I don't know why people aren't, like, enjoying this, because he's like carrying like 6 or 7 to everyone else's one, and everyone's just like, you're such an idiot, get back in line, why are you doing this?
They absolutely hate him.
Yeah,
for a society to hate an innovator that much with like trying to save work for everybody, time and energy, was pretty crazy to me that they really fucking hate you. Well, like, if you weren't here, we'd be better off.
And to your point, yeah, he is innovating. It's not like he's blowing stuff up and messing things up. At this very point in time, he has a ton of grain by himself. He has proven it's
for
work.
One ant, because all of the other ants are holding a singular grain, and they're like forming a line, and they're like, it also go with like, I think the through line that we can go with is like the free thinking. He's a free thinker from the beginning, and then like one of the first shots, like the leaf, that's right, the first shot, a leaf falls, and the column of ants, and the line is gone. I don't know what to do. Where do I go? The line is gone, and then they get him back on track. But it's like, it's very, well, they don't know how to think for themselves, but Flick does. Does society really value free thinkers? Do we really value people that follow the line and don't ask questions? And I think, I'm just going to put this out there now, I think they perform that through line much better than any of ants did. I'm just putting that out there now. That may not like it more, but I think they do a really good job with that.
I'm glad you brought that up, too, because the big thing we also have to think about and keep in mind is ants stolen. That was what was brought up last week when we talked about the backstory to both of these movies. And so I was thinking, okay, is this a stolen movie idea? And at least this idea feels like it was stolen, because it is Woody Allen's character
Pretty similar.
In Ants and Flick's character and Bug's life is they're very mirrored. They're very free thinking, go-getters, very eccentric, very like all about
just
the
different,
and they're very kind to all the people around them. But they are again free thinking, and they're one of the few. But the one thing I will say about Flick is while he's harvesting these grains, he is chucking these leaves in the air, and they keep landing on the princess.
Oh, that was hilarious.
So he crushes her like 3 times before they tell him to stop.
You would have thought that there would have been at least one ant casualty with the distance that those stalks traveled and how far they fell from. You think one ant would have been squished, but no, we didn't get any deaths. But not yet, at least.
And they're yelling at him, and he's very apologetic. He helps the princess up. He meets Dot, who's this young ant that's the princess's sister, obviously, and she finds him fascinating. And she's, talking with Flick a lot, and she's picked on by the other ants because she's smaller. And he uses this metaphor about a seed grows into a giant tree. So you could just be a seed right now, but at some point you will be a giant tree. It's actually a really heartfelt conversation that they have, and it's very whimsically done to where
simple.
It's simple and it sticks. And it is very important to remember this because this will come back later on. But in all this chaos, they find out the grasshoppers are coming. So they all put whatever grain they've got left onto the offering pile, and
I want to discuss this offering pile. Just give a description. There's a flat piece of stone on other flat stones stacked underneath of it with a giant leaf placed on top that is holding all of these seeds and berries and nuts. But just a few inches behind it is a steep fall off. It's almost like a cliff to them with a bottomless abyss at the bottom. So it's not far from the edge of a large drop off for these ants.
These aren't intelligent ants.
It is far from reason why that would be there. Why would you put that there? Why would that be in that location? It's dumb as hell.
Well, it also could be that the stones were already there and they just made do. I don't know. Like, we're not going to try to get into that. It's a Pixar movie, guys.
It does set up for what's to come. They're alerted by, I guess, lookout ants in the distance through some horns that they blow through, almost a light the beacon situation. They're alerted that the grasshoppers are on their way. So everyone scrambles to get their last nut or berry or seed thrown onto the large offering leaf. And of course, Flick is like, oh, what's going on? And he's running all over the place like a madman. He looks like a bumbling idiot. He throws his seeds and grains on the leaf and then throws his little...
Like, why would you throw your contraption on there, too, while it's still on?
While it's still on, and it's spinning, and it knocks one of the rocks, the support rocks, underneath the large rock off, which then causes the entire offering leaf and all of the nuts and seeds and berries to fall over that cliff into... It looks like a little pool of water down below. All gone. So all of the work that they put in that summer season collecting for the grasshoppers, all of that offering is just gone in an instant, thanks to idiot bumbling Flick.
Yeah.
And he doesn't tell anyone. I think they all get down
he runs down into the anthill, and he's like, Princess, what was her name? Princess what?
Ada.
Princess Ada. He's like yelling, Princess Ada, Princess Ada, Princess Ada. And everyone's like, shut the fuck up, Flick. Because that's like all they do is tell him to shut up. And no one's listening to him. He's like, I got something to tell you. And you hear the grasshoppers above them say, where's all the food? And then they just storm the anthill and cause a bunch of chaos. And the grasshoppers are quite scary in this. At least scary looking until they start talking. But I guess Kevin Spacey starts talking, and that's scary too. But... they jump into the anthill, and just to kind of speed things along here, they confront the ants, and Hopper, the main grasshopper, played by Kevin Spacey, he's a real dick.
Yeah, he's a prick.
And some of the grasshoppers are bumbling idiots, and then they have this one grasshopper that's like a zombie grasshopper.
Yeah, that was the one that I wanted to talk about a little bit because that was the part that was very frightening about this movie as a kid. What was his name?
Yep.
Thumper.
Thumper. Yep.
Yeah. Thumper, that guy. He was.
Yeah.
I mean, as a kid, that's pretty creepy.
He was terrifying. Now I thought that was.
Yeah, it was scary.
And it's just because, like, all the other grasshoppers are just kind of like dicks, and then all of a sudden they have him, and he's, like, being held back by chains around his throat. And, again, it's like a zombie grasshopper. He's, like, foaming at the mouth. He's got these crazy eyes, and he's trying to rip something apart at all times. But Kevin Spacey's character, Hopper, comes in and says, I will give you one more chance, and I'll be back before the last when the last leaf falls for the rest of the food. And the ants, especially...
He also wants double the food that they already collected, though.
Yes, and keep in mind, they were going to spend this rest of the time harvesting for themselves during the winter. And so Princess and the Queen are like, we can't do that. We won't have any food, and we'll starve to death during the winter. And he's like, well, that's a risk you're going to have to take. And he's like, I'll be back, or I'll kill you all, basically. And
he said he's going to squish the Queen.
And then he leaves the anthill, and everyone's now extremely pissed at Flick.
They're all incredulous. They're like, "What did you do? What happened?" He's like, "I didn't mean to." And they're like, "You're gone. You're banished." Essentially, I don't know how they came to that conclusion, but essentially they were like, "You're banished. You're done. You're gone." Like it's not worth going into because I think they were like, "Well, we could do this. We could do that."
Yeah.
Why not? And he's like, "I want to go find bugs that'll help us." And they're like, "Yeah, you go do that." And that's that. So they're like, maybe he'll die.
That's exactly what happens is he gets an idea to go find big bad bugs that'll fight the grasshoppers for them.
Bug warriors, as he calls them.
So that they don't have... Because he knows the situation that they're in, that they'll never be able to harvest enough food to survive the winter. So they're going to die either way. So he's like, I volunteer to go out and try to find these warriors. They do this little council meeting, and Princess Ada's like, that's actually...
Let him go.
Yeah, she's like, that's a good idea. With him gone, maybe we can double our production, and maybe we can get it done, but we can do it without him. So,
and their thought process is also an ant's wandering off from the anthill. Chances are he'll probably die on the way to wherever he's going. So
she gave him the death sentence, and then this is the one part of the movie that I don't like. I don't like how it goes. Is like she very much hates him at the beginning, so much so that again she issues him a death sentence to go find those people, and you'll probably die.
Yeah, and you'll be out of our hair. We don't have to worry about you anymore.
We'll find out later, like how their relationship evolves a little bit. It's a little fucked up, to be quite honest. So
yeah,
I don't like it too much. But
so he gets his hiking bag and all of his other shit together, and he's on his way to find these bugs.
He has this goofy fucking leaf hat. We got to talk about it. He looks like such a dork.
He does look like
such a dork.
Andrew, that's what you looked like.
And
when we went to the Keys, that's what you looked like. You had that hat on. You looked exactly like Flick.
Yeah, I've got the picture I can send out on our Instagram and show us all looking like complete dweebs.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's all of us. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Terry. Terry, we love you. Terry, thank you.
Honestly,
Terry, please.
Those hats really helped us on the day we were outside canoeing or kayaking, if you will. They really did come clutch. But
Terry, send us money.
They were egregious. But anyways, yeah, he's on the way.
He's on the way. And then the next little bit we can speed through a little bit.
Well, I want to make a quick. There's a quote in this section that I that made me laugh. I forgot. This movie is funny, everybody. I'll go ahead and say it. I actually chuckled so much. He's got his hat on. He's leaving, and Dot's the only one that cares about him because he's shown interest and support to her. And so she's trying to show support to him. And she's like, you got it, Flick. You can do it. And all the other kid ants are around and be like, my dad says you're going to die. And Flick turns around and Flick's like, I don't know. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And then he falls or something. And then the other kid looks at him and goes, yeah, your dad's right. He's going to die. And that cracked me up. But yeah, he starts on his journey, Kyle. And then it cuts over. And what do we see next?
We get our backstory on our other main characters, which is the traveling circus. The ladybug, played by Dennis Leary, which is great.
God, Francis. His name is Francis.
So good. Great acting job in that. And then the stick bug, which was David Hyde Pierce. and there's a couple. I don't know the actors' names, but they're very good older actors. There was a praying mantis. There's the Black Widow.
Praying mantis was done by Jonathan Harris, who's no longer with us. Madeline Kahn was the gypsy moth.
Madeline Kahn, that's who it was.
That's right. Bonnie Hunt was Rosie the spider. She's been in tons of stuff. Look her up her IMDb, Jumanji, Green Mile, Zootopia. Like she was in the Monsters Inc. Like,
and then also
plenty of roles.
like my two favorite characters, the two roly
Tuck and roll. Tuck and roll. Oh, they were so fun.
So good.
And what language was it that they spoke, Kyle?
So I'm pretty sure it was gibberish.
It was gibberish, but what did it sound like to you?
Like it sounded Romanian or like French.
To me,
it sounded like Spanish,
but also mixed with Japanese.
Yeah,
and some
Romanian. Someone who was trying to do like an impersonation of like a Mexican man, but then like slid into like a Japanese dialect when trying to do said impersonation.
And they're constantly arguing with each other.
They're so fun. They're my favorite out of all that troupe. Those are my favorite. They're great.
And then we have a caterpillar too, right?
A caterpillar who is he is very German. He's a very Heimlich. I'm a beautiful butterfly.
It's a nod to the hungry caterpillar. I don't know if everybody
is that what that is. That oh really?
Yeah, that's why he was always eating.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
It was a great. It was a great.
Yeah, he's
reference.
always eating. There was a couple references when we get. So we'll get there in a second. But the other character, unless I'm missing anybody, is the flea.
Yeah.
We're missing another one.
That's right. The Hercules beetle. Yes.
Yeah, that was voiced by Brad Garrett.
Yes.
Yes.
Him. Tall dude. Everybody loves Raymond's. Yeah. Good actor. Another great actor.
And PT, the flea, is over the entire circus, and he's named after P.T. Barnum. So if anybody caught that reference, it's a circus and it's a shitty circus. Let's just go ahead and put it out there.
We're not going to go through the whole thing, but like it was they're a bad act. They try to do this. They're getting booed off the stage and they're trying to do this really fun, like what is it? Flaming Death.
Well, so they're trying to do it in front of all these flies, and they're trying to do all kinds of different things, and everything that they do just sucks, and they're failing hard at it. They're all like lovable losers, is how I would describe them, and they end up they're going to do this like flaming escape thing that PT is going to be up, and I don't know how you describe.
I'll just very briefly go through it. They get the two roly-polies, they put them into like a little like squeezer bottle, like a thimble bottle thing that you use to like get drops of liquid. They stuff them in the end of that. They have I think it's the big Hercules beetle on top, and he jumps to shoot them out, but he's supposed to get shot out on some fly paper. But before that happens, the spider's supposed to go and weave a web so that they get stopped, but they mess the whole thing up. So they get shot off.
Timing is just awful.
It's awful. They don't listen to anything. They just essentially wind up burning PT the tick alive. Tick the flea. And he just gets incinerated.
The quote of this movie is when all the flies just start standing in ovation. They are so excited and they are cheering. And then it just quiets down as PT's just sitting there in this smoldering ash. And one of the flies says, "Yeah, burn him again." And that made me laugh so hard.
And then it was after this, the flies like start like catcalling Francis. Isn't that what happens? That escalates the situation. Yes. Like, "Hey, sweetheart, come here, give us a smooch," or something like that.
And he's like, "I'm a guy."
Yeah.
Which is like, that's a can of worms, no pun intended, that we don't need to get into right now. But,
well, and it's so funny is they are using she, her pronouns throughout the entire movie. He is the only one saying he. So it is a weird, like, modern.
Ambiguous.
Yeah, like, so they end up getting in fights with the flies, and PT's pissed off. So he's like told them they're all fired. And they end up in this bar, which is ironically where Flick shows up. So we see Flick show up at this trailer, and he's walking into what Kyle, I think, wants to talk about as the big city. And
yeah, he walks into the big city, and there's all this, like, it's supposed to be like Times Square.
Yeah.
He's kind of like walking through, and there's all this stuff around. It's all.
Did you
like,
notice
used human
Did you
stuff.
notice the Pizza Planet truck outside
Yes.
the
Did
trailer?
you also? Did you also notice
I saw it immediately
Did you notice the Lion King poster when they were in
like Times Square?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was
very-
also around Flick. There was the A113 on the wall, and it said
Yep.
dash 1195, and so that was the first A113 reference, November 1995. So they marked it on the wall. So it was a really fun scene. It was very visually stimulating. You look in any corner and see a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it was a very well done scene. Didn't spend enough time there, in my opinion, but the story got to move along because there's a lot of stuff going on at this point. So Flick, makes his way through the big city. Again, highly encourage that. Well, we can't say that yet. Scratch that. I'll start that over. Flick's walking through the big city, and he gets into this bar that we described, and it's essentially just like a soup can with a bunch of bugs in it. And this is one of the best parts of the movie because they're like all these bugs are interacting in a person's society, like how we would go to a bar and they're like, "Who ordered the poo poo platter?" And there's like all the flies swarm on top of the poop, and they're all eating it. And which I mean, hilarious.
That's a great line.
It was a great line. It was awesome. And then when he walks up to the bar, he goes up to the mosquito and he's like, "I'm looking for some warrior bugs," and he just completely ignores him. He's like, "Bloody Mary, oh positive." And he throws the blood and he just slurps it up and falls
and he
over.
passes out.
It is great.
This is like a
so good.
dive of dive bars too for these insects.
Terrible.
Like it's disgusting.
So the two flies that were heckling them at the circus they walk in with one of their big friends, and then they're like, "Hey, isn't that the ladybug that was taunting you guys?" And they walk up and essentially start a fight. And that Flick witnesses with the circus troupe because they do the Robin Hood act. They do the Robin Hood act, and Flick goes, "Oh my gosh, warriors, love it." So they get into this scuffle with these flies, and Flick gets pushed out of the bar. He doesn't see that they actually don't have any semblance of like fighter in them. They're just kind of dumb.
Yeah, and the flies have their big bodied bodyguards coming in, and they're about to beat their ass, and then the can just eventually just rolls at that point.
It rolls, and everything's destroyed with that roll. And I don't exactly remember how they quote won the fight, but
so the flies
end up like leaving, right?
They didn't win the fight. The flies got like. In the rolling of the can, the flies got just knocked around, and Flick runs to the can, and he sees the bugs emerge just because they just happened to emerge from the can, and he makes it sound like he's trying to hire them for an acting job, and they're looking for another circus or another performance, and
they think he's like a talent, like what do you call that? A talent
acquisition
scout or something like that. Yeah.
And so they see him, and he's like, "You're perfect. Come with me. You're perfect. I'll hire you." And that's how he says. And they look back and they see the flies getting up with their big muscle. And they're like, yeah, that's perfect. Let's get the fuck out of here. Let's go. And so they're like, wherever you need to go, let's go. So they end up getting with Flick. And now all of a sudden we're back at the anthill, which I was kind of surprised that we made it.
It happens quick.
Yeah. So now we're back.
Very quick transition.
We're back at the anthill, and Flick has arrived. Princess Ada's like, you didn't die? How are you still alive? And you brought
the entire ant colony is shocked that he made it back.
Yep.
It's not just Ada. It's like everyone like, holy shit, wow, what? Complete disarray and shock that he's come back and arrived with this motley crew of different insects.
Warrior bugs.
Warrior bugs.
At this point, Flick does not understand that they're not warriors and that they are very much. But they're trying to tell, like, they come up to this. It's like they do like a welcome home warriors. We're gonna present the feast for you guys, and we're gonna put on a show. So the second graders.
Oh my god, this part of the movie is the best.
It was so good. The second grade class, Miss Whoever's second grade class, does like a little presentation of like what they mean to the ant colony, and it essentially starts with like I'm the grasshoppers. We're here to take your food, and it kind of like slowly like devolves into like the final battle, and they're like, die.
They essentially do their own reenactment of the invasion of Normandy.
And everyone's
It
dead.
is the invasion of Normandy, very much so.
At the
All
end of
dead.
it. And the warriors are just like looking at each other like, what the fuck are we gotten ourselves
What
into?
do we sign up for here?
The best part too is before they even did the play, they presented them with a mural from the second grade class, and it shows this bloody battle. And they were like, our teacher says that one of you should die for dramatic effect, and it's the caterpillar, and his head is decapitated.
His head is severed. It's like for a kids movie, so funny. And he's like he's like just white as a sheet.
He's just like crying. It is so funny. Like I said, this movie is so funny, and it hits you just really quickly with stuff like that. Like this whole second grade class just doing this R-rated play in front of everyone.
It was very good.
And before we move on to the next, I almost forgot about this line. I was looking at my notes. I'm sorry I'm backtracking here. But back at the trailer, I do want to point out one quote that
so good.
that all the kids used to quote all the time, and it was this scene where we had the two mosquitoes or the two flies. No, the two flies. Yeah, and the fly is like, John, don't look at the light. And he's like, I can't help it. It's so beautiful. And then he hits it, and then they do the Waltham scream or whatever it is.
Yes, they do the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, and he dies. And so both those flies are the creators of Pixar. They do the voices. John Lasseter did the voice of the one that is actually dying into the light. So that's John Lasseter. Yeah.
That's a nice little nugget to throw in there.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I almost forgot about it until I just saw it.
Don't forget about that.
So
we're kind of at the point now where they've done this second grade play, and they're kind of like, what the? They think we're warriors, and we're actually a circus act, and they're trying to tell Flick, and Flick's like, he's like all high and mighty. He's like, I look at me, I'm the big man in the castle now, and Princess Ada's talking. And then he immediately takes over for her, and he's going like, I want to say this, and this. And then they're looking at him, and they do like a whole like, look at us, and they do like a juggling act, and like somebody that they do like a little flip with the roly polies, and they're like, ta-da, and he's like, oh shit. He's like, actually, we gotta call like an emergency meeting real quick, and then we'll be back in a little while. So you guys just do what you're doing, and we'll be back in a little bit. And he's like, you guys didn't tell me you were part of a circus, and they're like, well, you never asked if we were. So now it's starting to come together that. They're both on the same page, and Flick has to figure out what the fuck to do because Princess Ada is like, where'd you guys go? I feel like I should be a part of the meeting. What's happening?
And at this point, that's when the circus bugs like pack their shit up and start to literally walk away from the colony back to where they came from in the city.
Yeah, they're like, we're not about to die for a bunch of ants.
No,
we're
done with this. We didn't sign up for this. We thought you were a talent evaluator. We thought we were signing up for a gig, not a fucking war. So see ya.
Yeah, and then what happens that gets in the way of their travels?
So we meet the Deus Ex Machina, right, Andrew?
Yes. The winged creature.
The winged creature.
The bird. Honestly, an enemy to both ants and grasshoppers. It's above them in the food chain. So
all insects, basically.
To all insects, yeah. Yeah, they were... Flick was like pleading with them and whatnot. I don't remember the exact sequence. Do you find it filming in? But
do you find it weird? So we meet the bird, right? And so all hell breaks loose. They're all trying to get away from this bird. And do you find it weird though that the bird was very like photorealistic and an actual like acted like a real bird, and the insects had like humanistic qualities to them? So like where in the world you would think the bird would be? Also having
I don't know. It didn't bother me because like the bird is so far above them and not really part of their own world. So that breaks really didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, it didn't bother me either. And I think it really worked that it was actually not a part of like their world or the humans' world. It was just arbitrary. And I think that's what like if we're gonna get really deep with it, would the bird not represent death? Yeah, and just its indifference. Like, yeah, I'm sure that's what they thought about at Pixar when they're making this movie. Let's make the bird death.
I mean, Pixar does do that, and they get really in the weeds with their stuff. So I wouldn't. I don't think they did it.
I don't know though. That's a pretty early movie for them. I don't know, but either way, what happens next, Andrew? Don't we have like a whole, like, we don't need to get into the nitty gritty, but like there's like a whole reason why we come back to the anthill.
Well, because Dot's out there and she's being chased by the bird, and then the ladybug Francis ends up saving her from the ladybug. And
they all do. It was more of a team effort.
Right.
With Dim, the rhinoceros beetle, like it was the whole team effort to save Dot, who had fallen into one of the cracks, I guess, if you will, of like the arid desert or valley that they were walking through. But they saved Dot, and at that point they went through some like trauma with each other. Like it wasn't like one of those moments where they could just like peace out. Isn't that what brought them back? Weren't they just like, all right, we got to see this through?
The moth ended up using its wings to make it look like a bigger predator. So they use a little bit of like biology throughout this process, but they all end up back at the anthill, and Flick gets the idea. He's like, okay, birds are the predators of this land. What if we just
They're enemies to ants and grasshoppers?
What if we just build a giant bird?
Yeah.
That should work, right?
It'll scare the shit out of the grasshoppers when they come back for the collection that we're going to stop contributing to, because we have warriors and we also have a secret plan. So, yeah, let's move forward with that.
So we get this montage of them building this bird and the community's coming together, and Flick and Princess Ada, their relationship is starting to progress.
Bloom?
Yeah, bloom. She's starting to appreciate and respect him. And it's either at this time or a little bit later, but it's all in the same lane. We go to a sombrero next to a cactus, and it looks like a Spanish-style bar, Spanish-style dive bar, and that's where the grasshoppers are. And they're living it up, and they're telling Hoppers, like, why do we even go back? Why don't we just stay here for all of winter? This is perfect. We have everything we need.
And it's his brother, voiced by the great Richard Kind. I mean, Richard Kind has voiced so many animated characters over the years. Like that man can't do any wrong.
Very well done.
But he just is a bumbling idiot. He's like, oh, such and such he doesn't give the idea away. He tries to like take it as his own. He's like, I was thinking that we don't have to go back. What's the point? We can just stay here and live it up. And Hopper's like, you know what? That's a horrible idea. How blah blah blah. And then he snitches on the two who had the idea in the first place, and this is when like Hopper has like his biggest
I will say this moment, this is how you write a heel enemy character, like a villain. Yeah. This is a really well done villain speech. He goes over to this like this peanut or grain canister that just releases one grain at a time, and he pulls it out and goes to the two whose idea it was. And he's like, yeah, they're just a little ant. And he throws it at him. And he's like, did that hurt? And he's like, no, of course not. And he's like, well, what about another ant? And he pulls another grain out and hits him. He's like, no, it's just an ant.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and then he pulls the lever off, and all the grain from the jar just bum rushes and crushes the two grasshoppers. And he's like, if one ant stands up to you, they all stand up to you. And that becomes a problem. So we have to go back and make sure that they understand the status quo.
Yeah.
And it's very cold, calculated, and it makes a lot of sense, too, on why they would want to go back.
And I feel like that message is far-reaching in many societies. Yeah, we talked about individualism and how that is squashed and not accepted, but also you could compare this to like totalitarian governments and just corrupt governments and ruling bodies in general. And it's far-reaching. And it's super effective and doesn't get all like heady and preachy. You know what I mean? Like it's straight to the point. It's simple, but to the point.
Yeah, and so now they're like, yeah, we got to go back. I think we're speeding along, but this plot moves very quick. And this is a brief, it's an hour and 40-minute movie that felt like it was 40 minutes. And I mean that in an actually good way. It didn't overstay its welcome, but the plot moves pretty quickly. We end up now, we're getting to the crescendo of the movie. The ants have built a bird with the warrior ants. I'm just going to call them that. And the ants don't know that they're not warriors yet. They still think that this is just a better plan and a master plan. And I think at this point, don't the grasshoppers show up, or does PT show up?
PT shows up and ruins everything. He comes, he's like, I've been looking for these circus actors. Have you seen them? And they're trying to sneak out the back. And then as soon as PT gives way to go, the ants are like, wait, they're circus performers? What do you mean? I thought they were warriors. He's like, the cat's out of the bag at that point.
And PT
they banish him again.
Yeah, and PT tells them, too, the reason PT's back for him, he's like, hey, guess what? Me being set on fire was the best thing that happened to us. That we're booked out. We got a huge tour going. I'm going to be set myself on fire in every city we're going to. And so, it turns out that whatever they did just turned out to be a huge thing. And they're kind of banished away from the ants. So now they're leaving with PT. And doesn't Flick go with them, or they banish Flick with them as well?
He either goes because they told him to, or on his own volition leaves with them. So either way,
he feels like a huge failure. Yeah,
he's a huge failure. But then they're essentially, he's just moping in the back of their animal cracker, stage, or their stagecoach.
Which Kyle, you're a health nut. Did you notice that one of those animal cracker servings? Yeah, it had.
The tractor. That was really funny.
It had 92 grams of protein in the cracker.
I'm glad y'all noticed that.
I want those.
I was so happy they put macros on the back of that box.
It was 92 grams of protein and 49 grams of sugar. I was like, what? Where are we going with this? But yeah, and he's moping, and then Dot ends up bringing him a rock, which is from their previous conversation about he could be a tree from a seed too. And the warrior bugs don't really get it. They're kind of like, what's with the rock? It must be an ant thing. But he gets it. And so they end up going back. And they capture PT so he can't fuck it up for them. And they go back and get set up for when the grasshoppers arrive. And they give a rah-rah speech, get the ants involved, because they're like, this is the only hope we have, because we haven't gotten all the grain. We have to fight. So the grasshoppers show up, and they stage a distraction by doing a circus performance for the grasshoppers. It's like, we decided to give you some entertainment while you wait. And the grasshoppers are like, I do like a little bit of entertainment. And the only reason that Hopper goes along with it is because the two little roly-poly bugs start fighting in front of him.
And he finds it hilarious.
Yeah, it is pretty hilarious that they know the gravity of the situation, but they still start fighting anyways. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
And so they fight in front of him, and so they end up doing this circus performance, which leads them to what? Kyle used I think this is where they get the bird going.
So
right?
so they sneak the queen away during the metamorphosis, during that little bit that the praying mantis does. And the bit's over, and they're like, all right, where's the queen at? And they're trying to get the bird out at that point, but the bird's stuck, and they can't get it out. And they're like, where's the queen? And they eventually get the bird out, and it's when Hopper's about to squish her or something, I think, and then the bird just swoops down, and he flips out. It's such a satisfying moment to see that prick. I don't know. In my head was imagining Kevin Spacey getting really freaked out about something, and it made it even better now knowing that. But even as a kid watching that, he was so mean, and to see him be afraid of something was kind of as a child,
satisfying.
Very satisfying. Even your bullies are afraid of something. So I thought that was pretty cool.
And I will say this, I almost hate to say this, but Kevin Spacey does an incredible job in this movie. You can't take the talent away from him. It is on full display.
No.
He plays the villain so well because...
But he is, because he is the villain. This is where we're getting into the same thing we talked about last time. Is that really acting? From how you and I studied acting, Andrew, is that really acting? Are you really putting on somebody else? Or
it's hard. It's really hard for me. Obviously Kevin Spacey's a piece of shit. We know that, but it's hard for me to, I don't know, justify it as not acting, because I've never talk to Kevin Spacey when he's not acting. I don't exactly know, but he is channeling some, obviously, some reality that he possesses, some darkness that he truly possesses. I don't want to say it's not acting, but it's much easier for her to tap into that because he leans that way. Clearly, it's not something that's that difficult for him because he's a dark human being. He just is. So
yeah, and speaking of dark human being, he ends up running for his life from this bird, and you think that the grasshoppers are about to run away and not show up because, like, it is Flick and Dot in the bird, and they're just kind of like using all the kids to have the bird fly around. They're using like a pulley system. Next thing you know, PT gets knocked free somehow, and he's not in on the joke. So PT, not in on the plan, ends up setting the bird on fire somehow with a matchstick, and he's able to take the bird.
Plot mover. Great use of like a character to move along the plot, but he's such an idiot.
Yeah, but he's also like kind of awesome. I know it wasn't an actual bird, but it was built to scale, and he's able to just wreck this whole plan. So they see the bird go down in flames, and Hopper sees Flick come out of it. And
seeing red. But at this point, he's seeing red, but what else is starting to happen now, Andrew? The whole...
it's starting to rain. It's starting to rain, which rain for infantile, what's the word I'm looking for? Infantile? Is that what's the word?
Infinitesimal. I'm going to look it up.
Infinitesimal, yes. Infinitesimal little insects. That's a death wish. But you're not going to be able to survive gobs and gobs and droplets of H2Os. Like, it's not safe. Everyone starts to freak out at this point.
Yeah, the rainy season has begun. So Hopper ends up grabbing Dot, and he's about to kill her, basically, in front of the entire ant colony to prove a point. And then he's going to kill the queen. And Flick stands up to him. Flick is getting his ass beat by Hopper and the grasshoppers, but he stands up to him. He stands
up again because earlier in the movie, he kind of mouthed off to Hopper. And at this point, Hopper's like, all right, enough of you. I am switching directions. We're going to be the sacrifice. You're going to be the one I make an example out of. So,
so he
takes Flick.
He beats the shit out of Flick in front of everybody. He's about to kill Dot, and then that's when we look over and we see all the ants standing up to Hopper. They're all preparing, and this is where we get to the end of the movie here. So all the ants end up coming together and becoming the warrior bugs that's deep inside them that they could be. So they form a huge chain, and they end up like attacking Hopper, right? And I think how does Hopper meet his end, Andrew?
At this point, I'm pretty sure like Flick lures him closer to like the nest, right? Like
the nest, I think that they found earlier. I think it came back into play.
Yes, because I believe there's a moment where Hopper like takes Flick and like flies off with him, and it leads them to the nest they were at earlier when the circus insects were planning their escape. It's the same red bird that they come across. And as we talked about, birds are above the food chain for all insects. So this doesn't spell danger.
While he flies Flick away, all the other ants are taking on the grasshoppers, and they're overwhelming them. So just wanted to add that.
Because they outnumber them. They outnumber them like by quite a bit.
Yeah, by thousands upon thousands.
Yeah. And they're essentially fulfilling like that foreboding prophecy that Hopper alluded to in the bar. If one ant stands up to us, the rest will fall in line. They are living out that fear that Hopper tried to emulate, if you will.
Hopper gets cornered by the bird eventually, right? Yeah. And then in horrific fashion, like to Kyle's point, he just gets torn apart by the bird.
Like bird picks him up in a way that like scrunches his midsection, and like his wing gets popped out and his legs all messed up, and you can't even see his face. And it happens so quick, but it's actually really...
It's what would actually happen, yeah.
Yeah, it's really scary, but you're also kind of like, oh, well, serves you right, prick.
Yeah. So, and he gets fed to the birds.
Yeah.
children basically, and they start eating him alive, and you can see it in the shadows. They don't really show you what actually happens, but it is horrific. You can see him just getting torn apart, and then it flashes forward to, I guess, the next spring is what I assumed, where the insects are leaving to go on tour with PT, and the ant colony is alive and well. And I wanted to bring up the fact that they never harvested enough food for them.
Yeah, I thank God you said that. They didn't harvest enough to eat. So what did they do? My theory is they ate their young, and that's how they survived the winter.
Yeah, except Dot. They kept Dot around because she
kept Dot. Everybody else.
Well, she is royalty, so Dot is
because
royalty.
they don't. Exactly. Glaring story hole that for me is going to cost them a point.
Yes, absolutely, because they didn't introduce the rain at the end, because they introduced the rain as the rainy season, and that's when they're done. They can't harvest anymore. If they would have just not introduced the rain, I could have accepted the fact that, they killed the grasshoppers and immediately got to work harvesting, and they would have been fine. But no, it was the end. The last leaf had fallen. That was it. So they should have all died too. But again, plot hole there. But somehow
big old plot hole.
They survived the winter. They're at the next spring. The bugs are saying their goodbye to the ants, and they're like, Flick, why don't you come with us? And he's now married to Princess Ada.
Princess Ada.
To the woman he's married to the woman ant who gave him a death sentence, but then all of a sudden loved him, then hated him, and loved him again.
And never told him the
Kyle,
truth.
Do you think that Ada eventually told him the truth? Do you think that ever happened?
Never. No.
No, he didn't. Right. He's still living in, I think that happened in Bug's Life too, a divorce story.
That's exactly what happened to Bug's Life too, a divorce story.
So he sees them all off, and that's pretty much it. We get our happy ending. All the bugs are alive and safe and going on their separate ways. And then that's it. That's A Bug's Life.
Yep.
And the Randy Newman theme kicks in, and the camera pulls out from the anthill and the islands, and you kind of see the bigger picture of where
just
they
like
live. And
what other movie that we just watched, Andrew?
Ants.
Yep.
Except we don't see a big city in the background.
We never got any human interaction in this movie either.
Yeah,
Which I think was a big plus for ants.
I agree. I think it would have taken us out of it if there was more human stuff in it. That was actual humans. So, agree.
Andrew, let's start with you in the big Ants versus Bug's Life.
Well, okay. So before I really dive into it, I want to talk about Kevin Spacey again.
Here we go.
In my previous episode, I talked about how Woody Allen really took me out of that movie. And the thing is, Woody Allen had a very redeeming character. A little preachy, but redeeming, and someone that we look up to and we trust and we grow fond of. That really bothered me. I'm not here to throw Kevin Spacey his flowers. That's not what I'm doing here at all. But the fact that he played a villain and someone that we detested, and someone who met their timely demise, it didn't take me out of it whatsoever.
That's such a fair point.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't feel that Woody Allen, like I said last week, deserves to have that character and walk off into the sunset with the ribbon on top. That kills it for me. Just, I don't know, because when you follow a character, a main character, that intently and that thoroughly, you become one with that character and the actor, of course. You are combined with them through the heart. I can't do that with Woody. I just can't, and I won't. I didn't have to do that with Kevin Spacey, so it didn't ruin it for me. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite here, but they're different ends of the spectrum. Like I said, he met his timely demise, and it was really satisfying. We got to watch his character suffer. And while doing that, I was also watching Kevin Spacey suffer in a roundabout way. So it didn't hurt it for me.
Does it hurt you to know that his suffering got him millions and millions of dollars to do this?
It's all gone, though. And he lives in fucking Cyprus, Greece, and works at a nightclub. Who's laughing now? Not him. But to compare the two, they had a similar message. They had a similar story arc. Like it was almost identical. Whimsical, outcast, tries to save colony. One's a little more existential. The other is just a little bit more, I don't know, direct in your face. They still have a similar message, but overall, I think Bug's Life's message was more effective. It didn't get preachy. It didn't try to get too analytical about everything. It was a cool story about bugs and how they face challenges. And there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And they don't necessarily try to relate it back to humanity in any way they possibly can. It is relatable, but they don't, I don't know. I just feel that Ants insisted upon itself a little too much and lost me at times. Whereas with Bug's Life, it was a fun ride. It was funnier. And I just enjoyed the journey a little bit more, quite a bit more, actually.
Yeah.
I would much prefer to watch Bug's Life any day of the week over Ants. And I don't think that will ever change. So
Fair. Kyle, what about you?
It's pretty much the same as Andrew. I don't really think that there's any real comparison if like we're talking like which one would you rather watch. Although I do have to say, while oh shit, that scared the shit. Sorry, they're cutting down trees in the side of the road, and I thought one was about to fall. That scared the shit out of me. Sorry, just give me a second. That was my heart just
be
got
safe, mister.
Wow. Okay. I don't think I think the one thing that took me out of this movie was how the ants are portrayed. Well, might have brought Andrew in. Think in your mind right now about the old like puppet looking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like put that in your brain. And now think of the ants in A Bug's Life. And to me, they are like, without the antenna, they're pretty much the same thing. So that kind of took me out of it a little bit. I thought it was a little cheap. But aside from that, it's a good, like Andrew said, the key points about what Andrew said, they're simple. It's a simple movie. It's not trying too hard. It's not trying to prove points, but in not trying to prove points, it actually has a little bit of like symbolism in it that was applicable. And overall, it was good. It's a funny movie.
Yeah, I was trying to compare the two. When it comes down to it, we talk about entertainment, right? That's the name of the game, this is entertainment. Or am I entertained by this? And that's kind of the lens I was looking at, because I thought Ants dealt with a lot more subject matter, or a little heavier subject matter. And Bug's Life was a lot more whimsical. Bug's Life was way funnier to me. I actually laughed a lot at A Bug's Life. But Ants made me think a little bit more. I still go with A Bug's Life after all this, just because I was entertained far more with A Bug's Life than I was with Ants. Even though I thought Ants had some cooler moments, and I really liked what the subject matter that they were trying to tackle. I think Andrew brings up a really good point, too, with you got two really horrible people, let's just go ahead and say it, that are out there in society, and one was portrayed as a villain and one was portrayed as a hero, and it made it easier to swallow the pill of the bad person being a villain in the movie. Even though it's still fictional, they both made their money off of this, and they're both going to get that credit and lasting legacy for the rest of their lives. But at the end of the day, when you can watch one of them's demise, and instead of listening to one of them preach, it does tend to sway your opinion. I like the animation of A Bug's Life a little bit more. They're very similar style of animation. I don't think there's like a whole lot you can like decipher from. I did the human interaction in Ants. I thought that was fun. So I think they're both like worthy to see now. But at the end of the day, I do think A Bug's Life is the better film.
Yeah.
And I had a lot more fun with it, especially once it got going. At the beginning of it, I was like, I think I like Ants more. And then I sat on it a lot more, and I was like, I was way more entertained with A Bug's Life. Ants was tackling more, which I appreciated, and Ants had a better arc. It just didn't have a great through line, and Bug's Life nailed its through line. So I definitely agree.
I feel like Ants tried to do too much. It tried to be a children's movie, but also tried to be something that really like turns you in on yourself, and didn't really do the greatest at that. I don't know. Like I said, I feel like it just tried to do too much. And if they had either just focused on it being a children's adventure movie with some comedic elements, I think it would have done better. But they had to put that existentialism in there. And I think that's ultimately where it fell just a bit short. Again, opinion, but I think it tried to do too much compared to A Bug's Life.
Well, it sounds like we've picked our winner. It sounds like A Bug's Life wins the battle of the insects, but does it hold up, Andrew?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, this was fun to go back and watch. It was entertaining. It made you laugh. It wasn't a waste. Like you said, it was an hour and 40, but it felt like a 45-minute watch. Like it just went straight through quickly and seamlessly. Yeah, it's great. I mean, not one that I'm going to go back and watch like frequently. For sure, if I have children, then they're going to watch it. I'm going to sit down and watch it with them, and they'll probably love it. But it was nice to pull one of the original OG Pixar movies out and enjoy the ride. Yeah, it absolutely holds up.
Kyle, does it hold up?
Yes. I'm not even going to get it. It does hold up. It's a very good movie to watch at any stage of life. I think you'll get something out of it, and it's not pretending to be more than what it is, but it's also not surface level. And you can find something in there if you really want to look for it, and if you don't, you can have a good time with it.
I also agree. It does hold up. Where do we want to go with the IMDb rating on this?
I've got mine.
All right, go ahead.
Well, I think we have to agree on. I'm going to have to go ahead and just say, because we all took a point off because of the criteria we said before. There is somebody in society that has been pariah for good reason, so that automatically.
I think we said max. It could be as 8. Is the max?
It can be as 8.
Yeah.
But also we said, didn't we say we're going to take off a point too because of the massive story hole plot points that they did not fix?
I know.
So
I am.
Max is okay. I'm going to say, I think we should all abide by that if that's the case, and then the max they can get is an 8. Max is an 8.
Yeah.
What do you say, Andrew?
I'm going to give it a 7.1. I could go 6.8, but I don't know. I feel like it was entertaining enough to launch it into the 7s. And yeah, it's a children's movie, and there might be like one or two little holes that we were just discussing, but I don't think it completely detracts from the movie as a whole. I'm going to give it a 7.1. It's pretty damn good.
All right, Kyle, what about you?
I want you to know that I had my IMDb score lined up after I watched it, and mine was also 7.1 on the dot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,